Hey everyone, welcome back to our channel. If you're new here, please subscribe. I'd really love that. If you're returning, how you doing? Um, what we're going to be talking about today is something that I need every single gardener friend of mine to pay attention to. NASA has a problem. They have a problem, and we're going to be the ones to solve it for them. Okay? So, everybody listen up. But before we get started, hey there, my name is Autumn, and on this channel and on my second channel, ABG Prepping, we talk about current events. I do have a Patreon channel, and over there we talk about stuff that we can't talk about here due to YouTube's terms and policies. The links to my ABG Prepping and to my Patreon is in the description box below. So now, like I said, NASA has a problem. And they say that $3 million says that we can solve it. So let's get into it. There are 96 bags of astronaut caca on the moon. Yes, literally. Left behind during Apollo missions, and they've been just sitting there chilling in the lunar dust since the 60s and 70s. Now NASA wants to turn all that waste into something useful for future space missions. So they're offering $3 million to anyone who can figure out how to convert human waste plus other lunar trash into payload-worthy materials. Think building supplies, fuel, maybe even food. It's called the Lunar Service Innovation Initiative, and it's part of NASA's bigger push to make deep space exploration sustainable, because shipping a bathroom to Mars is not cheap. Forget moon rocks, y'all. This is real treasure. I mean, moon caca. Who would have thought? So, I say turn it into compost and put it on Mars. They want to make Mars livable, yes? So why not use it to make compost and start planting trees and whatnot? I mean, but my idea of turning astronaut caca into compost for Mars, while it may be creative and aligns with the concept of a circular life support system, has significant challenges and considerations. So let's break it down. Feasibility and compost astronaut waste for Mars. Compost potential. Human waste contains organic matter, nitrogen, and phosphorus, which are valuable for soil enrichment. Compost could theoretically produce a nutrient-rich medium for growing plants. On Mars, where there's regolith, which is soil, lacks organic matter and essential nutrients. Compost would help create fertile ground for agriculture. So what are the challenges? Well, pathogens and safety. Human waste carries pathogens that must be fully neutralized during composting to avoid health risks. This requires high temperatures for several days and controlled conditions, which are energy intensive in space or on Mars. Water content. Effective composting needs moisture, but water is scarce on Mars and in space missions. Recycling urine or using limited water supplies for composting would compete with other critical needs. Odor and containment. Composting produces odors and gases like methane and ammonia, which must be managed in the confined environments of a spacecraft or habitats to avoid air quality issues. Volume and storage. The amount of waste produced by astronauts is relatively small. Scaling this to produce enough compost for significant agriculture would take time and require storage systems. So let's talk about the radiation on Mars. Mars' thin atmosphere and high radiation levels could damage organic matter in compost if not shielded, affecting its viability for plant growth. So what would be the transportation cost? Well, sending compost to Mars or the equipment to produce it is expensive due to launch costs. Think 10 to 20,000 per kilogram to orbit plus interplanetary transit. Producing compost on site would be more practical but requires robust systems. So now let's look at Mars specific issues. The soil chemistry, okay? The soil there contains perchlorates, which are toxic salt that must be remediated before planting. And compost alone is not going to solve this. Additional chemical or biological processes are needed. The atmospheric conditions, Mars has a low air pressure and a CO2 dominated atmosphere and extremely cold. Plants would need controlled environments like greenhouses, and compost would only be one part of the solution. So what about tree growth? Trees require significant resources, water, nutrients, space, and time to grow. Fast-growing crops like lettuce, radishes, are more practical for early agriculture. So let's talk about NASA's moon poop problem context, okay? So NASA's focus on the lunar waste management, often called the poop problem, stems from the Artemis program, which aims to establish a sustainable human presence on the moon. See, there are some key issues. Let's talk storage. Waste accumulates in limited spacecraft or habitat space. Then you have disposal. Leaving waste on the lunar surface raises environmental and ethical concerns. Then let's talk recycling. NASA seeks ways to repurpose waste or resource recovery like water and nutrients. So my idea of composting aligns with NASA's interest in the ISRO and closed loop systems. However, the moon's vacuum environment and lack of atmosphere make composting there impractical. Mars, with its potential for habitats and agriculture, is a better candidate, but the waste would likely be processed in space or on Mars rather than transported as compost. So are there alternative solutions? Well, the bioreactors, the microbial systems could break down waste into usable components: methane for fuel, CO2 for plants, nutrients for hydroponics. These are more compact and controllable than traditional composting. So when it comes to hydroponics or aeroponics, these are soilless systems that use nutrient solutions potentially derived from processed waste and are more efficient for space agriculture than soil-based composting. Chemical processing, waste could be chemically treated to extract water, nitrogen, and other resources, bypassing the need for organic composting. So synthetic biology, engineered microbes could convert waste directly into food, fuel, or building materials, as explored in some of NASA's funded research. So why not do composting for Mars? Well, composting is possible, but it's not optimal due to energy and resource demands. Maintaining compost systems divert power, water, and space from other mission priorities. Scalability. The small volume of astronaut waste limits compost production, insufficient for large-scale terraforming or tree planting. The complexity, managing compost in a habitat adds logistical challenges compared to more controlled systems like bioreactors or hydroponics. So for Mars to become livable, this is what we would need. Short term, process waste into water, nutrients, and gases using bioreactors or chemical systems to support small scale hydroponic farms in habitats. For long term, we would need to combine composted waste with their soil, okay, the regolith. After we, the perchlorate removal. To create soil for larger greenhouses, and trees might come much later once basic food crops and oxygen producing plants are established. And then there's terraforming. Composting alone can't make Mars livable, obviously, but that does require massive atmospheric engineering, releasing CO2 from polar caps, importing nitrogen, which is centuries away, if at all feasible. So instead of focusing on compost transport, maybe we could come up with an idea for processing waste on Mars into versatile nutrients for hydroponics or bioreactors. This maximizes resource efficiency and supports early agriculture. Trees and terraforming are inspiring goals, but we're better off starting with radishes and oxygen generators. So I need all of my gardener friends and your skills in addressing the compost challenge, even if for just a context, okay? So let's optimize some recipes for compost, okay? So all of my gardener friends, often you guys know how to balance greens like nitrogen-rich materials like food scraps and browns like carbon-rich materials like dry leaves for efficient composting. On Mars, human waste, which is nitrogen heavy, could be mixed with carbon sources like plant waste and food crops or even processed regolith additives. So, what is the simplest compost mix that you have used that breaks down fast and supports plant growth? What would be your go to ratio that could inspire a minimal resource system for Mars habitat? So, you're going to have to do a lot of research, okay? I'm just throwing this out there. Now, let's talk about low maintenance composting. You guys might have experience with low effort methods, like using worms, fermentation based composting. These could be adapted for space where energy and space are limited. So, have you ever tried compact composting systems that don't need water or turning or anything like that? This could, guide designs for small scale compost unit. You might even know what kind of plants thrive in nutrient poor or challenging soils. Like for Mars, they could suggest hardy crops that grow well in compost regolith mixes, like potatoes, beans, microgreens. Okay, what plants would you grow with minimal fertilizer in tough conditions? Okay, like the plants that you would pick could prioritize crops for early greenhouses. So now let's redefine this idea. How about a micro compost system? My brain is going ping, 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 ping. A small sealed bioreactor composter in a habitat that processes astronaut waste and crop scraps. It uses minimum water, relies on heat from solar panels or nuclear generators, and incorporates techniques that you guys come up with. Okay, like the worms and the fermentation based composting. Okay. A nutrient rich slurry or dry compost mix with treated regolith to create a basic soil for hydroponic or small soil beds. Start with like fast growing, nutrient efficient plants like lettuce, radishes, dwarf beans. And that would be for like early trial. And this would be designed for like a small crew, like 4 to 6 astronauts producing enough compost to supplement a greenhouse, not for terraforming or trees or anything like that. And it would have to be so practical and so easy, okay? Odor control, because composting smells, you know this, okay? How would you manage the odor in the setup? Could it work in a habitat closed air system? Think of speed. Mars missions need fast results. What would the fastest composting method, and can it work with limited water? Think of soil substitutes. Regolith is not soil. You think of like clay almost, because isn't Mars, don't they have clay on Mars? Have you grown plants or veg or anything in weird mediums, sand, gravel? If you live in Florida, you know what I'm talking about. These hacks that we have could inform regolith based growing, okay? Now this could work, and I'll tell you why. If it's small scale, unlike my original idea of composting for trees and whatnot, a micro composting system is feasible for near term, like Mars mission, okay? And if we were able to put our heads together with practical experience from gardeners like you guys, okay, we could simplify the system, make it easy and less techy than, say, NASA's bioreactor proposals, while that's still being effective. And sustainability, it recycles wastes, reduces reliance on Earth supplies, and supports food production, key for a livable Mars base. Damn, my brain never stops. All right. It's terrible. Yeah, it's called mom brain. Holy cow. All right, y'all. Let's discuss, okay? I will see you guys in the next one, okay? You stay safe, you stay positive, you keep prepping. And as always, fear less. Ciao.